interesting episode of Inside Out, and this week we'll be talking about driving and our roads and safety. Driver safety, that's the topic we have today. I have often wondered whether it is everybody that is on the road that went through some kind of test. If you drive, could you please do me the favor of standing up? If you drive, it doesn't matter whether you have license. If you drive, stand up. Now, if you went through a driving school, sit down. How did you learn to drive?
Yes, I was taught by one of the mechanics in my vicinity, and the guy was so good, and he really taught me very well when I drive. I didn't go to the formal driving school.
But you think you're a very good driver?
Yes, I think so.
Do you know the road signs?
Some, to an extent.
If you see a yellow box on the floor, what does it mean?
Maybe right
The
now,
mechanic didn't teach you that part.
right now, I have a driver that drives me.
Now you have a driver.
Yes, I
So are you saying you
I've
never
forgotten-
drive again?
I've forgotten to say
Do
that.
you think that your driver knows the road signs?
Yes, because he went through the driving school.
Oh.
I made sure he went through the driving
Oh,
school.
okay. Let me ask you, how did you get your license?
Okay, well, I got my license through the right way. I went to the road safety. They gave me my license because I knew how to drive. But I want to say this amazing thing. Nobody taught me how to drive.
Okay, so how did you just got in a car?
I'm very good at learning things practically.
Okay.
I watched people driving, and one day I just jumped into a vehicle and I moved out.
And that's how you started driving?
Yes, that's how I started driving. And today I can drive from here to the east.
Today you can
I
drive
can
from
drive
here
from here
to the east.
Yeah, I can do that.
Do you know all the driving rules?
Yeah, I can say 70% or 65%.
Actually, I would say mine is more of like what most of other people here too might want to do later. You know, it's like your uncle has a car or your dad has a car. You are the guy who's always at home. You have to clean this car. You have to wash it. And then, okay, like I have...
You are identifying with that.
Yes, they know. And then, you know, like I have this friend of mine. He's not really as tall as I am. And then I imagine how this guy drives. And I'm like, guy, you drive. Me, I don't sabi drive. Why? I can't do my compound. Now, which kind of thing? So one day I was out cleaning the car. And I was like, okay, guy, teach me first. At least you start this car, it doesn't move. How do you do it? I learned that. And then one Sunday, we went around the estate. That was the first time I moved a car. I went out on the road through the roundabout and then back home. And since then, I watch people drive and I do it too.
Okay. Every time I get to a zebra crossing and I see people speeding past, I'm wondering, in other climes, once a pedestrian puts the leg on that zebra crossing, you step on your brake. Here, if you do it, you are dead. If you like, say you have the right of way, the man who is driving probably doesn't know that. So we're talking about driver safety, safety on our roads. And I believe that I have a panel that will do justice to this topic. From my left, we have Mr. Rahim Lukman. He's a certified driver. We're going to know what that means soon.
Thank you.
Next to him, this was when I started to do research into this topic and I found out that this was available in Lagos State. I was quite shocked, and that is the truth. I didn't know we had this. Please help me welcome Mr. Ayo Oyedokun. He's the CEO, Lagos State Drivers Institute. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Jonas Agu. He's the Sector Commander, FRSC Lagos State Sector Commander. You're welcome, sir. I'm going to be starting with you, Mr. Jonas, because you're on the streets and you're the ones who deal with this daily. And that was why I wanted to start the way I started, by seeing what percentage of people who were drivers actually went through the driver's. What has been your experience on the road with drivers and safety?
Well, if I have to speak as a safety officer, the picture I've just had here isn't different from what you find every other day. Um, in about 6-8 months, we ran a compulsory lecture for applicants for driver's license. And from our finding, we discovered that over 90% or thereabout of these applicants, of course, never went to a formal training. The picture we got here that, of course, some of us smiled over, yes, may sound very funny, but it's dangerous. Because for FRSC, we discovered that, of course, is the same picture. If you were to ask even those of us here, our initial experiences had to do with the same thing. You heard people say, oh, I was washing my uncle's car, and some guy said, don't worry, I'll spend 30 minutes and teach you. And every other person passed on the messages like that. And that's why in our own study of the trend of crashes, just beyond even Lagos, across the country, FRC came up with what we call the Driving School Standardization Program. And with that program, you wouldn't get this picture I'm talking about now. As I speak to you, you can apply for a driver's license in Lagos or any part of the country, especially as a fresh applicant, without having gone through a formal training.
Is this a recent development?
This is more than 1-2 years old. As I speak to you now, yeah, speak to anybody who has applied for a fresh driver's license. If you don't show proof that you attended one of the certified driving schools, you do not pick up a license. Because it's one thing for people to say, I own a license. Ask them really if what they're holding is a driver's license or just a document that looks like a driver's license. So we have changed that picture already because we knew that to address the issue of crashes, we had to address it from the very foundation, and it starts from who becomes a driver.
Okay, Mr. Ayo Yetokun. First of all, the Lagos State Drivers Institute, what's that about? Because that was very strange to me. I'd never honestly heard about it.
As far back as 2007, action had been taken to pass a law to make sure that people undergo formal training. This become important in the fact that we found out on the highways that most people that are holding driver's licenses do not understand, and they are illiterate in terms of road sign literacy. Apart from that, man hours were being lost. And we found out that even these were complicated by the fact that many institutions have made driver's licenses a sort of identification material, and people rush to obtain driver's licenses, whether fake or otherwise, and they give this out as if they are driving. So
I actually was going to say that a driver's license, some people get it just for ID.
To correct this anomaly, even though the state government does not have power to withdraw driver's licenses and not to issue, it's issued in collaboration with FRSC, a law has to be passed for professional drivers. Because if you are paid by somebody to carry you from one point to the other, that fellow must be carried safely. So the law was now passed that if for you to operate in Lagos as a professional driver, that is, you are earning your living in driving, you must attend the Lagos State Drivers Institute once every year. Now, what does the institute do? The institute, first of all, wants to ascertain the vision status of drivers. We have found out in what we have done. We have more than 60,000 people on our database, and 12.5% of those people are not aware that they have vision problem. 1% is enough to cause serious crashes on the highway. So these people are before they are retrained, they are asked to go back. You go back to take.
You mean you can have a problem with your eyes and you won't know?
You see, there's a standard which you must have in your eyes before you should be qualified to drive on the highway. Some people are colorblind; they don't know. Some people they drive in the night, they squeeze their eye before they drive, and these are very, very important in safety. So what after that one has been determined, if your eyesight needs correction, you have to go back to go and take that corrective measures. You can go back to the optometrist, to the hospital where it is checked and you are issued glasses. If you like, you can go to the church and pray. If you like, you can go to the mosque and pray. But when you come back to the institute, you will still put your eyes in that machine to see that your eyes are good. And it is noted in the card you get at the end of the day that when you are driving, you must drive with some aids. So the institute now carry out so many training programs. We have lectures that have been made to tackle the issue of ignorance amongst drivers, to tackle the issue of incompetence. We found out that there was nothing like any driver education curriculum in this country. So we sat down and said, well, what are the things we want to train the driver? So we came out with a curriculum, a driver education curriculum, which contains all what intend to teach the driver. Let me give you the first example here. We want to say, who is a good driver? Or what are the responsibilities of a good driver? You see, drivers have responsibilities to themselves. They have to the vehicle they are driving. They have to the people on the highways, and they have to the environment. Part of the responsibility to the drivers is that he must know that he's mentally and physically fit. He can see, he does not drive under influence, and so on and so forth. His responsibility to the vehicle is we pass him through all those kind of things. And that's just one example of what is done there. It is at the end. We cannot, that's why you must attend the school once every year. What is imparted yearly is limited. So, and that one is put in our database. And when the driver comes back next year, we continue from there.
Let me go back. I'll come to you. I want to go to you, road safety. You're the ones in charge of issuing driver's license in this country.
We are the one in charge of producing driver's license, not issuing driver's license.
Okay, who issues?
The state issues.
Okay, so if I want a driver's license, where do I go?
You don't come to me, you go to the state licensing office. That's where you process your applications, and when you're done with that, or before you're done with that, the VIOs who are part of the state will have to run a test on you.
Okay, so it's VIOs that do the tests.
Yep.
Now, when the VIOs do a test, what happens?
When they do a test and confirm that you are qualified to be given one, they now pass you on to us so that we can capture your data. So our business is about...
So there are 3 agencies in charge of giving a license?
Exactly.
So how come...
2 belong to the state and the 3rd one is FRC, just like what you said before. So our business is just about designing the driver's license and producing the driver's license. The issue of issuance rests with the state. And we do that because as the federal agency, our responsibility, just like what he said, by the time he's done with retraining somebody in Lagos, if it's some guy who probably does not reside in Lagos, coming in from maybe Yobe or Borno State, he'll come into the state with his bad driving habit and create some havoc. So our own responsibility now is to ensure that we're coming with a standard that cuts across every other state.
So what's your standard?
If you want to apply for a fresh driver's license, as I speak to you, in Lagos or any part of the country, you must, which is part of our driving school certification program, you must attend one of the certified driving school. They are the ones that handle freshers. And the starting point from that is, of course, you cannot be someone who is, like you said, you have issues with your sight. You can't say you want to go to a driving school.
And these certified driving schools are the responsibility of the state?
The certified driving schools belong to specific states. Not that they are run by the states, they are run by individuals. But of course, they apply for certification, and if they meet the criteria set out by government, they get certification to run the driving school.
Okay, let's take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll be talking about this. You're welcome back. We're still talking about driver safety. And you are a driver?
Yes.
You drive professionally?
Well, I'm a driver.
Uh-huh.
And I work in First Bank.
Okay.
I work with non-executive directors of the First Bank. Although I never know anything about Lagos State Institute, but my first time is last year when I came. I realized that the institute is different.
How did you know about them?
Well,
did you do something wrong?
No.
Okay.
It is through my company concern, because anybody that drives
in First
from the level of the MD, executive directors, they normally send them to somewhere like that.
Let me ask you, how did you get your first driver's license?
Well, my first driving license I got, although I got it through road shift.
Safety,
Yes. Then after I got
Did
it
you do a driving test?
for the first time, I didn't, but I got it. When I wanted to get the work like that, I got it. Then after
So you had no formal training, but you got a driver's license and you applied as a driver.
The only thing they did is that they asked a couple of questions about it, and since they realized that I'm able to give them the answers. Then take my pictures, and I later comes back. Then I send somebody to help me to collect it when I'm somehow busy. So that's how I got it then.
Okay.
So that is what I used to apply to First Bank. Then after that, I was fortunately to work with the executive directors there. So they realized that I have to undergo some things, some training.
They found out that you don't know everything that you claim to know.
No, not that. But I just think I have to undergo a training again. Understand? They then send us to Lagos State, which is last year, Lagos State Institute. And when we got there, they text my eyes. They asked me and put some things at my front to look whether I'm able to see those things. Then discover that my eye is...
Did you do any exam?
Well, we did a little exam.
What did you find out? Did you know a lot of the signs before then?
I know a lot of the signs, but not all of them. That is why I say some of the signs they showed me, I've never even seen them.
Do you know the yellow box they draw on the floor?
The yellow box, sometimes we have this cycle one. There's a cycle one, then teachers, but the one I know is the one at the one square. The one is like square, so that if you want to cross to the other side, that means the cycle is giving you the signals, maybe to watch if the other car if the car beside you is coming. Then before you can cross to the other side, so you have to make sure you wait a little bit before you can cross.
You know why I keep asking about that yellow box? I have found that a lot of people just believe it's a drawing on the ground. And it could have caused a lot of avoidable, stopped a lot of, if people just understood that simple one. I guess, please correct me if I'm wrong, that it just means no waiting or stopping in this margin.
Yeah, we refer to it as an offside rule.
Yes.
See, when you have road ahead of you, and most times it's at a junction. So if the road, if the space ahead of that box is not clear,
free,
it's not free, you are not supposed to stop on that yellow box. You are not supposed to block that entrance.
And it is, I see it the most at those places where you have to go, the BRT, what do you call them? The BRT buses.
Yes.
And then you can go into like a service lane. But people just, in fact, they wait inside the box.
No, but if you recall what I said initially.
Yes.
Because we are dealing with a national issue now.
Yes.
And I did say that what we had and which we are still trying or battling to clear is that a good number of people who claim to drive never went through a formal training program. Before this time, of course, you had driving schools and there was no uniformity in the standards. Remember, the man who is driving from Lagos isn't confined within Lagos alone. So if the standards in Lagos are higher or lower than what obtains in Ogun State, it then means that the man who lives here might go to Ogun State a safer driver.
But you're doing that for new drivers.
We're doing that because we're doing that for new drivers.
Which
saying
is why what
if you're
he's
coming
talking
in,
about.
Yeah, no, listen what we said.
Yes.
You said a lot of people, and we're saying if for new drivers, you are saying any new entrant coming in now must go through this process. You must have a certificate showing you attended one of the certified driving schools for you to be qualified to pick up a driver's license. And when you show that, the first person you show, like what he said, when he said he applied, You don't pay for driver's license to FRSC. You pay for the state. The state will process your form. The states are supposed to confirm whether physically, mentally, emotionally, you are fit to become a driver. When they confirm that is okay, it is then they forward to us your documents to say, capture the man's own data. So when we discovered that there was some lacuna in this, we had to come up with a program to say, how do we ensure, just like what you have with education. If I said I read law from Unilag and read law from Nsukka, it must be that it's the same thing we went through as lawyers. And we said, look, a man who claimed to have gotten a license as a fresher in Lagos must have gone through the same procedures and tutoring like a man coming from any state outside Lagos, dealing with fresh applicants. The moment we can address that, of course, for the older applicants, thank God for the Lagos Institute, which is focused on how do we deal with these dry bones? Can we bend them? These are people who are much older, who claim they have dreamed for 20, 30 years. How do we make them to come to understand some of the rules?
So what do you do? What does road safety do?
Amongst many things. Number one is, I just mentioned to you, I said, when it comes to the issue of designing the driver's license for usage in the country, that's what we do. I represent a federal agency, he represents a state. While his concern is the state, my concern cuts across every other state.
Okay. I was actually going to ask you a question. In your establishment, you said you work for First Bank. Is it all the drivers of First Bank that have to go for this? Only those that drive the Ogas?
Well, the first time, it is all of them, and both those who drive pool cars and executive directors. But just that those who work with executive directors used to go to many training occasionally.
Okay.
Same, like from last year to this time around now.
How many trainings have you attended?
I've attended like 3 to 4.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That is very good.
Yes, I attend.
So if Danfo comes, you slow down now.
Of course, yes.
Eh?
Because of course, yes. Because the type of car I drive is expensive.
So what he was saying is very
exactly
important. Do people do written exams?
In our place, what we do is we don't do written exam for for the mandatory courses. But in the institute, we have electronic testing system. Just like you are sitting for JAMB, we have that system in the institute that you sit down on the computer. If you cannot even type, you can touch screen. Your question will be asked.
That high tech?
Yes, it's there. That you sit down and we can assess. We can test a minimum of 500 and a maximum of 500 people a day. Because so that is why you see those are most organizations now send drivers to us when they want to promote them. Because before this time, assessment of drivers are always very, very objective. It is if the person you are driving likes your face, he will recommend you for promotion. But if you really want to determine the driver's competence or otherwise, send him to where he will be assessed.
I am impressed, actually. And so you did this practical one, the simulation?
Yes, I did it too. According to what it says, he's saying the truth. Because he even surprised me because I'm seeing it for the first time. They asked us to go inside, we sit down. So there is.
You go inside what?
We go inside the room where they put all those things. So when we went there, we sit. I see the machine, one small machine like this. He has steering, gears and everything. I said, what type of machine is this? So they asked me to sit down, then switch on the light. I even thought whether he's going to choke me, something like that. They say, no, it's not something like that. So we are all sick because we are 5 in numbers.
And
so
each one of you had one?
What is it? Yes, it's one. It's almost like 10 there. It's almost like 10. So we have to see. Then there's a big one at the back. Meanwhile, they will be watching. Those staff there will be watching how you operate the thing. Understand? Then they will ask us to be watching. There's a one green button and yellow button that will be displaying on the like speedometer like this. So then, as soon as this thing shows double red, that means there is danger. Then you have to mash brake. So we discovered that according to what it says, then those things is showing, is indicating. Then immediately we see the two red button, then we match
checking
brake.
reflexes too.
Yeah, that was just to check the response time of drivers.
Yes.
You know, we have different response depending on your mental and the physical state. Our response time to events are very, very different. But
yeah.
the average is 3 seconds. What I'm saying is that if I come out and I'm just very close to you, I just slap you, bam. It will take you 3 seconds to determine whether you want to slap me back or you So, and these reflexes are now affected by your state. For example, if you are driving under the influence, it will now take you maybe about 10 minutes for you to know whether somebody has slapped you or whether somebody is running across the road. So we have all those things to test. And in fact, I can test how you will behave if you are drunk. What happens right now is that if you are drunk, you are driving a vehicle that is not drunk. If I get that vehicle drunk to that level you are, and you are not drunk now, you drive it, the result will be what you will do when you are drunk.
The greatest problem we seem to have on the road are the present day drivers. So a lot of us on the road right now, except for people who are interested, don't know anything about driving signs. Now, if I had a choice, I would not really decide to come back to your recertification school. So how do you get people to come back to get recertification?
First of all, I want to tell you that even there are 3 windows of training in the institute. The first one is the mandatory, which the law says all professional drivers must come once a year. And those are just those people that are driving for a living. It may not include you, a private driver.
So if you have a driver, you expect the driver to have that
certification card. Yes, that he has been to school for that year. The second window has to do with any offender, any road traffic offender that are apprehended by LASMA and the Vehicle Inspection Unit compulsorily must attend rehabilitation course in the school before his vehicle is released. The third level is structured courses. Now, you are an employer of driver and you want this driver, because let me tell you the attitude of the Nigerian employers of drivers. They do not think that drivers are important. And we are trying to tell them that driving is a profession. They do not think they are important. That is why a driver is employed, is paid 10,000 naira per month, is driving a vehicle that is worth 5 million naira. And at the same time, a computer operator is working on a system that is, the printer and the computer is about 240,000 naira. He's paid 100,000 naira a month. He goes to courses every month that he oracle today, that tomorrow, and is paid. But these people employing drivers, they gave him a vehicle that is 4.something million. He's driving the chief executive officer. He's driving their children, their wards. He's even driving those other staff that you have trained, and he can kill them. So that is one aspect of it.
That is a good way of putting it, you know.
So the third level, so that one is a very, very serious business, because if you now want to give intensive driver training to your drivers, we have structured courses, which we have packaged to suit different types of drivers. You have emergency drivers, we talk of ambulance drivers, you have those people carrying money, you have articulated vehicles, you have the downfall training, you have executive driver training, and we have equipment that the Lagos State government has imported to handle this.
Some of that.
For example, those people that are pilots that fly aeroplanes, they don't use planes to land in the air. They don't use planes to access them. They do this in a room through the use of simulators.
Simulated.
We have driving simulators in Lagos State, which we
really.
Use. Yes. Now, if you want to employ drivers, you have advertised that you need drivers to be employed, and about 100 people have applied. If you bring it to us, we put them on all these various type of machines, conveyancers and so on, and they will be rated from the best to the least without any human intervention. So we have all these things which we use to buffer up those training that these people have missed when they were supposed to have gone for training. And apart from that, vehicles are being upgraded yearly. Many new vehicles are coming out. It is very, very important that drivers are released and are encouraged to develop their skills too.
As a private person, can I just decide to come and take a course because I want to better my driving?
Education is very, very important. You are free to come and register for any of the courses.
Let's take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll be taking comments from members of the audience. Let's take a break.
Fun. Ready to go again? Yeah!
High Malt. Let's go higher.
You're welcome back. We're still talking about safety on our road with our driver safety. And I was still going through this book and I was like, this book is, I think, a must-have for everybody because all the road signs, I must admit, even some of them that I don't know, are here. If you can see. This is like a regular. The bike with like, in fact, we have calculated on one bike one time, 7 people. And despite that, it's like they drive, and is there a right side for bikes to be on? Let me ask the question.
The bikes, of course, are supposed to take the same position cars take. They are not meant to do what everything you see about bikes is out of the rules. Now, except there's a special lane for bikes, but when there are no special lanes, the bikes are not meant to do what you see them do. Where you have one bike.
What should they do? I don't even know if there's any rule concerning bikes. I'd like to know.
If I was driving a bike,
yes,
and he had a Jeep,
yes,
I know it's safer for me, as someone you refer to as an exposed road user, to stay by his own right side. Okay. And not close to him. The idea of me struggling with him, a vehicle with 4 tires and me having just 2 tires, would amount to just madness. Because just a little swerve of the hand.
When the light is amber, does it mean stop to the person who is going? Or, because we've had arrests done and then I've heard arguments.
Yeah.
It hadn't turned red. So I could still pass.
Yeah, let me answer that one.
Please.
You see, when the amber light is on, it depends on where you are at that time. If you are in motion, you must continue until you complete that thing, because another vehicle is following you. If you are all in motion and you're almost coming into that junction and you have amber, if you stop, you are going to cause problem.
Yes.
So you have to go steadily until you finish.
So what that thing does is to give time for the road to
get
clear.
ready to stop.
Get ready to stop.
Remember what he said. He said it depends on where you are. But if you're looking at what the law provides, ideally at every point you have the traffic light, there should be what you have the stop lines. It says to you that if you are on the stop lines when the amber is on, you continue. Stop. It does not mean that if I'm here and the traffic light is where you are, I'll tell myself increase the speed and
which is what happens.
Which was what he said to you. That depends on where you are
and the speed you are going.
So at that point, if already you were imaginarily on the stop lines, which is like a zebra, thing by the traffic light, you are allowed up. At that point, no traffic officer would pick you up. But what people do is that their speed is determined by what the light is showing. The moment it's about changing, whether it is amber or red, the man's mind is that this one I must pass.
Okay, let me take comments then.
First of all, I have to give kudos to the Lagos State government for what I just heard right now regarding institute given to the drivers. However, I think much publicity should be given to these things because it's like most people are not still very fully aware of these things. If it is possible, they can send some people to garages, parks, where these Davo buses, their drivers are there. They tell them what to do. They enforce on them, but they should try to attend this institute. So that, I mean, sanity can be done because most of this insanity normally comes from these Davo drivers, Mule drivers, majority. So please, more publicity should be given.
We know there's no limit to publicity. And I'm sure that we are increasing it, we are improving it. We've gone to motor parks, like you said. We've gone to all the unions. For example, now even all the schools, because we have a course for school bus drivers. They are also very, very important.
Yes.
They are, you see, they are, apart from that, they are handling kids. So there have been so many accidents that has happened with them too. So we've been to the meetings of the Proprietors Association. We are working with the NURTW, RTAN,
and road safety now.
And Federal Road Safety Commission, and we are training offenders. So we're going to step up publicity. Thank you very much.
I want to say thank you, sir, for letting us know that we have a Drivers Institute. But then when it comes to the issue of road signs, because I remember before I even got behind the steering wheel at all, I had this book, Road Safety, something.
The highway code?
Yeah, the highway code. I had it at home. And I know I go through it like every day. I see signs. But I discovered one of the problems was when you go out, most of the signs you have in these books, we don't see them outside.
Yeah, correct.
Because I go out, in fact, even my office, there's this road somewhere around that goes so slopey. There's no sign that tells you are approaching a slopey road. There's no sign that tells you this road, the angle is so degree. So you find out that you read the books, you see something else, but when you're outside there, it's another thing.
And about the road signs you are talking about, even where there are road signs, I'll give you an assignment. Where there are road signs, when you're in any vehicle, and a driver has just passed that road sign, after 3 seconds, ask him, what was that road sign that you were just watching? He said, I didn't see it. Because it's not, they don't drive by it. They don't know that they're supposed to see it. Most people, they start to read Bible, read Quran. I said, no, go and read your road signs and traffic regulations.
I think before you start driving, you have to attain at least 18 years.
Sure.
So my question is there an age limit? As in, if you attain this age, you have to stop driving?
Yeah, is there an age to stop driving? I've never really wondered about that.
There's the minimum age,
yeah.
but there's no maximum age of...
the minimum age is 18, isn't it?
Yes.
So there's no max, you can be 110 and be driving.
It now depends on the common sense at that level.
Even though there's a particular age you get to, with the introduction being made, by the time you get to the age of 65, get to 65, like you said, people's system differ. But at 65, you are no longer qualified to pick up a license that will expire in 3 years. Simply because the guy who is 65 could be 66, could be anything. Anything could happen. So we want to be sure that on a yearly basis, we're checking you to be sure that you still fit in mentally, physically, to be allowed to still drive.
Some of the drivers, they were breaking these laws in the collaborations of the so-called officers. For instance, now, if I want to go on a one way now, if I carry you as an officer, I can go.
God forbid, you won't carry me.
What he's saying, and I'm going to just say that for you representing Lagos State, and once they carry one army man, a policeman, all the other agencies, which makes you as another driver say, so you mean these people are above the law? They have passengers, but the first man in the front seat, I have seen it many times, is a uniformed officer. Road safety will turn away. LASMA will turn away. And they do the wrong thing.
Imagine what would have been happening by now in Lagos if there were not to be anything called LASMA. On the issue of uniform people, and even let me talk about these bullion vans, I can tell you here live that LASMA stopped all these people driving against traffic. There was a time that we were picking them with their money because LASMA too hard police. Police will pick police leading them, and the bank will have to come and collect the money in the LASMA office. You see, when you are doing your work and you are fearless, people fear you, they think you are God. We are not saying that there are no bad eggs in any organization. But when you see an organization that is focused and is well equipped, I'm talking about equipment now. If you know how many of LASMA in Lagos, you will know. If you know how many vehicles you have, and all of them are communication connected. So if they are doing their work, you say maybe they what do you call it? But they are wicked or something. But don't let's think that way. Because if you do what you have to do, like the sector commander has said, avoid committing offenses.
I saw one LASMA official hanging on a car because he wanted to arrest it, and the guy took off.
Let me break it.
And I thought, what if this guy falls?
Let me break it. It's a two-way thing.
Yes.
First, the man who is the driver, we're assuming we're dealing now with the ideal driver, not the quack or whatever you call it, knows that or should know that he has a civic responsibility to stop when he's asked to stop. I recall the case of the woman who drove against traffic. I walked up to her to just say, "Madam, this is wrong." She zoomed up, almost ran me down. I didn't say a word to her. I took my vehicle, I just told her quietly, got her number, her details, including where she resides, are here. All I need to do is go to the police station, get a policeman, walk to her house and pick her up. So that's why I said that some things about enforcement, you might just think that, let me give a scenario now. He is in a vehicle. The fact that I respect him, he's not the one I want to arrest. That is the driver. And you say, you saw Mr. Oladoku. I might say, yes, I got money, sir. You are a former sector commander. I'll greet him, he will pass. But that man's details I have already. He assumed that he has a cover because he's carrying a former sector commander, retired sector commander. He'll be picked up much later. So the people who drive around carrying uniform men, that is wrong. The uniform men who give themselves out to be used, that is wrong. So we must call a spade a spade. But for the men who run after them, our rules do not say run after them. But I'll tell you the circumstance within which I will run after a driver. If he was driving and you run him over, injure him and you move off, I will come after you. Here I am dealing with someone whose life you have put in a coma. I will come after you to ensure that I bring you to book, except where at the point where it happened, I got your details. There are circumstances where the law enforcement man might say, this offense is too critical, it's not a minor offense that I could just choose to just waive off. Here I'm dealing with someone who's been knocked down by a driver who does not want to stop. In that scenario, gentlemen and ladies, if you are the one knocked down and I tell you the rule says I should not go after him, tell me what you whisper to me. Good.
So thank you very much, sir. This Lagos State Drivers Institute is located where?
Like I said, we have 5 locations. One is in Ikorodu at Odonguyan in VIO Yard. We have an institute there. The other one is in Badagry at Okwafo on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Then you have in Nikeja behind LASMA, that's in Noshodi. Then you have on Lagos Island. That one is going to be commissioned too very soon, but it's already training drivers. It's between Teslim Elias Model Primary School and the old party secretariat. Then
Can we get this there in all these places?
The 5th one is in Nekpe, in the Torre King Road.
Thank you very much, sirs, for coming on the program, for the education you've given us. If you have comments, questions, you can link with us on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/InsideOutWithAgatha, or go to our website, which is www.insideoutmedia.tv or insideoutwithagatha@yahoo.com for emails. You can also like us on our fan book page. Would like to especially appreciate Voltic Water for the water, Accord for my hair, my makeup by Flawless Touch Makeup, and the costume by Showbiz Boutique, and my styling, which was done by KIC, Kelu Image Consulting. Until next week, when we come again talking about something else equally as interesting, bye-bye and see you next week.